Welcome to the Short Council. I'm your host, Trev, and as you can see, it's a particularly short council this week, but that's okay because we have arguably some of the most all-star of the PVD all-stars, starting at my right, Jeremy, and at my left, Vanessa. Today, as you're probably noticing, we've gotten involved in some wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff, and the review of episode 4 is coming out a week late. We've been dealing with a debilitating time virus, and that's all that really needs to be said. So, what do you guys think about the fourth episode this season? Personally, I'm kind of impressed. I'm kind of in a weird spot. I liked it a lot more than the previous 3 episodes, though.
Yes, I liked it.
I did too. I liked it a lot more than the previous 3 episodes. It had something a little more intriguing about it than the last 3 episodes too.
Yeah, kind of a little mystery, some kind of definitive unknown that they're searching after. Kind of a horror sort of spooky vibe throughout.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't the predictable monster that we could all just assume it was going to be. And it's like, even at the end of the episode, when it's all said and done, they kind of wrapped it up, but there's still questions in the storyline, like, was there, was it a child under the bed playing a prank, or what was it? Like, was there anything outside the doors coming in, or was it just the pressure turning the door lock? Like, what was that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Did he listen on the chalkboard and just forget about it, or was there something there listening the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
They did show like a blurry image when the blanket fell off of whatever it was. And it didn't look like a child. It looked like something creepy.
Sort of vaguely humanoid, but vaguely, I'm kind of with you. It definitely had some mysteries that perhaps we might even see some answers to later on this season. We might get some callbacks out of this. I hate to think that it's a totally standalone episode, especially because of the mystery of whether or not there really was a monster in Danny Pink's bedroom that night, or Rupert Pink, as we learned tonight.
All right, look, if it's no big deal to be Mr. Pink, you want to trade?
Clara and Danny Pink definitely get together and create, apparently, time-traveling offspring.
Yeah.
That was what was being hinted at least.
Very strongly.
Heavily,
But they never said it.
They never came out and said it, but when Orson Pink has this, has that little plastic figure, Dan the Soldier Man, and he says, "It's a family heirloom here." And she's like, "But it's a family heirloom." He's like, "Yeah."
I know, Grandma. I know.
It's back when you met
Great-grandpa.
When you met him when he was a little boy, and then you married him.
There's this kind of a weird thing where she's sort of fulfilling sort of a motherly, matriarchal sort of role for Danny, and then a lover, and then it's kind of a similar thing, almost arguably with the Doctor. They've been trying to diminish the romanticism between the two of them, but first she's like this, adult friend, companion, and then
Companion.
and are we all gonna? Let's be frank. Well, that was definitely the Doctor she was talking to at the end of the episode, the Time Lord that was sleeping in the future Time Lord was sleeping in the bed.
For sure. That was totally him.
Right. So then she ended up playing sort of a motherly figure to the Doctor, and apparently giving him some of his best ideas. I kind of have a problem with this because it further propagates the Clara, the special snowflake, who gets to be now the one who was formative in the Doctor turning into the wonderful man that he is, which,
bullshit.
Well,
it's a bunch of bullshit.
Well,
I don't like it. I didn't like that part at all. Mostly because I'm a Clara hater.
Yeah. Well,
she's hot, but that's it.
Yeah.
What I didn't understand is that, this is supposed to be all these monsters create everyone to have the exact same nightmare, and it all started because Clara grabbed the Doctor's foot when she didn't want him to get out of bed and see the TARDIS and stuff. So wait, that created everyone in all of the universe to have the same nightmare? Like, that became a thing from that, or?
The most I can think is just because, they're basically unofficially stating that it's some natural phenomenon or, coincidence that a great many people throughout the universe have a similar dream. But it's not a very complex dream, if you think about it. You wake up in a place that you consider safe, but you don't feel safe. And then something proves that you're unsafe. I mean, some of
That's basic nightmare fuel.
That's basic nightmare stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you can paint that 100 different ways, and if you set it in kind of a bare bones thing, you can get most people to agree that they've had a dream like that.
Okay.
But I mean, that's true of most dreams in general. It seems like most people in the world have similar dreams. I was at school naked. My teeth were falling out, and I couldn't do anything why do we have similar dreams in the first place? And they were kind of using that kind of natural mystery, because we've all kind of asked ourselves, why do we all do these things? What are with these common experiences? This episode seems started out of that root of, how come this thing that doesn't have a good explanation? And that's kind of a neat place, I think, for an episode to stem from.
See, I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot. Like, I enjoyed them being scared of what was under the bed. The twisting and turning it into Clara was telling the doctor what he told Rupert Pink, that, and then making it more, that was when it was like, oh, I kind of liked the idea that maybe kids are afraid of what's in the closet. Maybe you are afraid of what's under the bed. There's an attic door in my room, and for some reason that is what really scares me, and it's because there are things that live in cracks and shadows. And I enjoyed that aspect of the mystery. As soon as it started to be like, oh no, actually it was Clara the whole time she grabbed your leg, now everyone in the universe just dreams about their leg being grabbed, it's all Clara's fault. It's like, dumb bitch, ruined the story.
Well, she did have herself threaded through all of time and space because of intertwining with the Doctor's timeline.
Including other people's nightmares? She's fucking with old people's sleep too.
What a bitch.
Oh.
Well, listen, why don't you just scuttle off back to fucking Cranford and play around with your tea and your cakes?
But what we have here, though, is that's really troubling to me, guys, is, and this isn't the first time we've seen it, but it's always troubling to me, a closed time loop. Basically, the Doctor goes looking for monsters in the dark because, as a kid, Clara scared him in the dark, but she was only there because the Doctor was scared in the, So where does it start? How does it and if it didn't happen a different way before, that was somehow subverted by the search, and then she became the new instigator, well then that kind of makes these suggestions that there's no agency, that Clara and the Doctor are not acting of their own real free will, and that it was all always predetermined to roll out this way. And that also more or less seems to be what so much of Doctor Who is against. It seems to be about, let's go somewhere where something bad is happening and fix it.
But to be fair, they've already kind of poked fun at that a few times. The Doctor in this series has said how there's someone who is wanting them to be together, who's keeping them together and orchestrating these little adventures for them to go on, which is why he talked about how in the newspaper, the Impossible Girl article, neither one of them put that in there, but someone wanted them to be together. So yes, someone is orchestrating their things, at least some of them.
Well, right, but is it some kind of predetermined destiny sort of thing? It's always more interesting to me when time travelers are making choices rather than making what was going to always happen. It's a fine line. It's not the first time they've kind of done this in Doctor Who. And as a small point in their defense, they did specifically lay out that the Doctor was turning the safety guards off. So basically is to say, hey gang, time travel's not going to work the way that we usually make it work in these stories, so that way we can tell a different kind of story. So, which is kind of lazy. I don't like this idea that now the TARDIS can go anywhere at any point in any, even things that places you're not supposed to ever go, just by turning off a lock. It seems so that the technical power of the TARDIS is far greater, but they have all these restraints on it to keep it from doing really amazing things.
Or the fact that, a really interesting thing, Clara, she's going through her, mind wipe of travel destination chooser thing, and she just happens to think of her shitty date with Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink, let's move on.
And then she goes into his past instead. It's like, how did you go into someone else's past? That's not even a part of your past. And so it's like, that was stretching, but that's how they got there.
Yeah, it was really kind of I mean, you could make the argument that because they apparently have offspring together, that like
that
their time
family
streams are like
past.
you know, but still, it's kind of dubious. So yeah, and the same thing, and then going back to that predetermination, like making choices and so forth. So now it's actually the doctor's fault, or was it always the doctor's fault that Danny had some sort of, when he was still Rupert, had some formative soldier dream where he was a soldier and then became a soldier? So what? Now the doctor's actually responsible for that trauma that Danny is obviously harboring, you know?
And then if you think of it that way, there's tons of people who've been fucked up by him.
Yeah.
Tons of people.
And, you know, I suppose that feeds into this season's supposed theme of making up for things, but when you basically just spend the episode fulfilling actions that, you know, ended up causing pain or so forth to other people, it's troubling.
The way Jeremy said that reminded me of River Song's backstory when they showed her growing up with Amy and Rory, and she was always getting in trouble with school because they're like, why did World War II happen? And she was always like, because the doctor didn't prevent it. Mm-hmm. And she was like, like, he fucked it up, he didn't do it. And that would kind of lead into that kind of story. It's like, this boy grew up to be a soldier because of something that happened with him because he met the doctor, and now he has PTSD, and it's all the doctor's fault this happened. So it's like they've already kind of, I mean, they touched on it, but they haven't really done that.
Clara is the one that gave him showed him the army men thing, you know?
Right. So that's her fault. It's really her fault, but then it's the doctor's fault for bringing her there, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a big... Yeah, you know.
This was one of those episodes also where I know they do this all the time, but they just brush off the fact that these two people just showed up. They're in a children's home at 2 a.m. Yeah, they went through that thing for a minute, but him being an inspector.
Right.
But how do you explain Clara outside like a creep, and then she's suddenly inside?
People in the UK mind their own business.
Lesson 1. I tell you to fuck off, what do? F off?
All in all, I think it was a pretty decent episode. Some troubling storytelling elements, just like, you know, like, hey, let's ignore general conventions of logic here and, you know, let's just tell a story we want to tell. On the other hand, you know, if there's something admirable to be said about some storytellers who just want to tell a story and will make some, you know, let's just get the questions out of the way and let's just tell the story.
And, I mean, it was a good story. It was interesting. It was scary. Like, I definitely kept me more interested in this one than, like, the Robin Hood one.
It's very interesting. You know, the internet's told me that this was one of the better Doctor Who episodes in years, actually.
Sure. Yeah.
By form and fashion. Not by, you know, normal Who standards. But I feel like the, oblivious fangirls and fanboys bit right onto that and didn't look any deeper. And that's what we're for.
But yeah,
they were just happy to see the Doctor Who as a little kid. They're like, oh, it's baby Doctor Who.
He had some weird gangly feet. You see, they're like...
He lives in a weird barn. Time barn.
Yeah, he lives in a time barn. Leave him alone.
Welcome to Time Barn.
But there was some definite ambiguity at the end of it, so I mean, I think that's always kind of necessary to be a little bit more satisfying to these stories. Some kind of edges that are a little shadowy still, so you don't really have all the answers. That's what I'm usually looking for in a story like this. And, but it's not always about us, sometimes it's about you, so I'm always curious, we're always curious, what are you looking for in a Doctor Who episode? Make sure you make some comments down below, you know how to do that sort of thing. And otherwise, we will see you next week on The Short Council. Bye-bye.
Peanut butter disaster.